Depending on how you look at things, the Fold 3 could be considered the first real competitive foldable device from Samsung. It brought about features we've been waiting for, like the IPX7 certification for water resistance, the S Pen, and the under-display camera. Now, I'm sure that there were many out there that kept thinking, what can they do next? Well, today, we're going to take a look at what's next. We're going to take a look at this year's new model, the Galaxy Z Fold 4, and see how it compares to last year's Z Fold 3. As always, let's take a look at what you get in the box. So what you're going to get is a USB Type-C to C cable, your SIM ejector tool, and your quick start and terms and conditions. That's pretty much it. The Fold 4 starts at the same exact price that the Fold 3 did, which is $1,799.99. For this price, you'll get 256 gigabytes of storage and 12 gigabytes of RAM. Doubling your storage will cost you an extra $100 on the Fold 3, while it will cost you $120 more on the Fold 4. Fortunately for the Fold 3, there isn't a third storage option, so you're stuck with either 256 or 512. But for the Fold 4, there is one more option above the 512, which is the 1 terabyte. If you want to go with this amount of storage, get ready to dish out an additional $360 from the base price or $260 from the price of the 512 gigabyte. The Fold 3's color choices are Phantom Black, Phantom Green, and Phantom Silver, while the Fold 4 comes in Phantom Black, Gray Green, Beige, which is what I have here, and if I do say so, looks pretty good. The last color is going to be the Samsung.com exclusive color, Burgundy. If you're getting the Fold 3 and want a particular storage option, be aware that all three colors are available with 256 gigabytes of storage. However, the 512 gigabyte is only available in the Phantom Black color. The Fold 4 rectifies this by making all color choices and storage options available at any combination. Both devices are using an Armor aluminum frame for their bodies. The Fold 3 uses Gorilla Glass Victus for its cover display, while the Fold 4 upgrades this glass on the cover screen to Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. The main displays on both of these devices is using Samsung's own ultra-thin glass. Samsung has also done some behind-the-scenes work to make the display on the Fold 4 stronger by changing some of the materials they use underneath this display. One thing people have wished for is for Samsung to make the cover display on its Fold series bigger. Samsung seems to have listened in a sense this time around and has made the cover display on the Fold 4 wider than the one on its predecessor. This is definitely a welcome change, where on the Fold 3 you can see the left side here kind of dominated by where the screen ends and the hinge starts, whereas on the Fold 4 they have thinned that part out so much that you can barely see where the hinge starts here. This also indeed brings the Fold 4's cover display closer to what you'd expect from a regular candy bar phone. The size of the main display hasn't changed, but one thing I do hope Samsung has fixed with the main display on the Fold 4 is the protective cover they're using on it. I mentioned this in another video, but my Fold 3 screen protector has started to peel, and as you can see here, it's done it once again. This seems to have something to do with the device being exposed to certain temperatures, but either way, it's pretty annoying, especially because of the fact that the only efficient way to get this replaced is to visit the Samsung flagship store in New York, where I'm originally from. I was able to have this replaced the last time since I was up in New York. However, this is something that potential Fold owners will want to consider. You don't actually need this screen protector at all. However, it does help when writing with the S Pen if you choose to purchase one. Ultimately, I'll have to spend some time with the Fold 4 to see if this is an issue. The backside of both devices look extremely similar, with the exception that the Fold 4 has the Gorilla Glass Victus Plus covering, while the Fold 3 has the Gorilla Glass Victus covering. The camera bump also looks pretty similar, but as you can see here on the Fold 4, they've actually made it bigger, and that looks to be because of the fact that the Fold 3 employs the same camera system that the S22 Plus and S22 do. Now, those camera systems are indeed different, but we'll get to that at a later part of this video. When closed and looking at the left side of the Fold 3, it's pretty thick here, and it's definitely noticeable when holding the device. The Fold 4 has definitely trimmed down its hinge, which should at least give the perception of the device being a little less dense. The right sides of both devices is where you'll find your power button / fingerprint reader, and a single volume rocker here that controls the volume up and down. On the top of both phones is where you will find the large speaker grill and 2 microphones that sit there. If anybody is wondering, no, these phones definitely do not lay flat on the table, so you will want to get a case to protect them and protect that camera bump. So here's what both phones on top of each other will look like. One of the things I've just noticed is that the Fold 4 is actually a teeny bit wider, and you probably can't see this on camera too well. However, it does stick out by a little bit. The Fold 4 does bring over the IPX8 water resistance rating that the Fold 3 had. Now, normally I would go ahead and stick these both in a tub of water. However, since I have this little screen protector issue on the Fold 4, I don't want to risk it coming off since it's already peeling, but you'll have to believe me for now. The S Pen experience has not changed, unfortunately. You still have to use the same Fold Edition S Pen if you want this kind of functionality. The upside, however, is the fact that you can now use the same S Pen you purchased with the Fold 3 on the Fold 4. It's also now a bit easier to go from left to right on the display due to the fact that the crease in the Fold 4 has been decreased. Had to use that joke again. This should make for a more enjoyable writing experience when moving the S Pen on the Fold 4's display. The displays on the Fold 4 have seen some upgrades when compared to the Fold 3. I mentioned this before, but the cover screen on the Fold 4 has been widened by way of a new aspect ratio, which means content viewed on this screen will look a little less odd than it did on the Fold 3. You also have a slight bump in resolution, which should add even more clarity to what's being shown on this display. The main display has also been upgraded. It has an increased perceived brightness for a more versatile viewing experience, and it has also seen a slight resolution upgrade for more clarity. One interesting fact is that the Eco OLED Plus panel on the Fold 4 is said to consume 25% less power than the Eco OLED panel on the Fold 3. This should in theory translate to you getting better battery life while using this display. Another cool thing about the display on the Fold 4, even though you can't necessarily see it here, is that the under display camera has had its pixels arranged so that it actually looks like it's hidden and out of the way. I can see this on my side, but I will tell you, it definitely has worked. Samsung has done some magic here, but I can barely see it, and it's definitely less distracting than it is on the Fold 3. The Snapdragon 888 inside of the Fold 3 is about a year old now, while the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 in the Fold 4 is the latest and greatest. Anybody who purchases the Fold 3 will most likely have no issues with the device's speed, although the 8 Plus Gen 1 is said to be more efficient than anything that has ever existed before. Either way, I'm sure both processors will be able to handle what you need from them and anything you can really throw at them. Since, as always, the performance is going to be heavily based on the application you're using and what you're actually doing here on any of these phones. Both devices have the full range of 5G tech which should come as no surprise. 5G actually seems to be becoming more available day by day, which is a good thing if you'd like to try it out on either one of these devices. Both devices also come with Bluetooth 5.2, Wi-Fi 6E, and other general connectivity standards that let you transfer data over USB at a reasonably fast speed, let you use your phone as a credit card, and allow you to connect these devices to an external display by way of cable or by wireless connection. The front-facing camera on both devices remains at 10 megapixels, while the under-display camera on the main display still has a resolution also of 4 megapixels. The Fold 4 has seen one of its biggest upgrades in its rear cameras. You now have a camera that can take 50 megapixel shots, has a 3 times optical zoom, and a 30 times digital zoom. Though this camera set isn't the 100 megapixel set we were expecting, it still will give the Fold series a kind of versatility it hasn't seen before. This camera is pretty much on par with what you would find in the S22 Plus and the S22. Now, Samsung has also stated that the night shots are 23% brighter. They didn't necessarily say this was compared to the previous Fold, but I would assume overall. Okay, so now it is time to go ahead and move on to the audio test. Go ahead and adjust your volume now so I don't break any eardrums. So let's go ahead and see how the microphones compare on both of these devices and what they pick up. This is a test of the microphones on the Galaxy Z Fold 3 versus the microphones on the Galaxy Z Fold 4. Hopefully I am coming out very, very clear, and maybe there have been some improvements on the microphones with the Galaxy Z Fold 4. This is a test of the microphones on the Galaxy Z Fold 3 versus the microphones on the Galaxy Z Fold 4. Hopefully I am coming out very, very clear, and maybe there have been some improvements on the microphones with the Galaxy Z Fold 4. The battery capacity in the Fold 4 hasn't changed from what it is on the Fold 3, but the efficiency of the parts inside of the Fold 4 should change how long that battery lasts. Wired charging is still at 25 watts, while wireless charging has been upgraded by 5 watts for a total of 15. You still definitely do have the 4.5 watt reverse wireless charging. I'm actually curious to see, does anybody actually use reverse wireless charging? I used it like once or twice, but then my watch, while I was trying to charge it, kind of kept falling off, so I stopped using it. Let me know in the comments if you actually do use it or what you use it for. I'm interested. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to the battery test. So usually for this test, I usually use a 4K video. However, since I've been seeing all of these raves and reviews about how the Fold 4's battery life is good, I wanted to try something a little bit more strenuous. So I'm gonna use the same exact test I used when I was doing the processor, the one that I typically use, and this is an extreme test. So this should go ahead and work out the major parts of the phone I really want to test, which would be the display, the processor, the GPU, which is part of the same thing anyway. But yeah, overall, I'm gonna go ahead and do this test. It's about 20 minutes, and this should give us a really, it should give us a better idea than just doing a 4K video of how these batteries would do on a daily basis or in really stressful situations. So let's go ahead and do this. So now let's go ahead and see what the battery life on these is like. Okay, so as it stands right now, you have the Fold 4 sitting at 88%, and you have the Fold 3 sitting at 89%. However, I do have to be fair here. The optimization service hasn't learned all of the usage patterns for me, so that could definitely play a big part in why the Fold has 1% more. However, again, this is supposed to just give you an idea of what the battery life would be like, and I think that this test was a little bit better on that. Next, let's go ahead and move on to the charging test, which is going to consist of me using two 25-watt adapters. And as you can see here, both phones are on 66%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a timer. I'm actually going to get to that right now. And I'm going to charge these for 30 minutes and see where they get to with 25-watt chargers. Okay, so I am back, and I'm actually a little bit over the 30 minutes, but here we go. Let's take a look at where these are at. Right now, it says that the Fold 3 is at 93% and the Fold 4 is at 97%. I believe the Fold 4 said it was going to take 3 minutes until the full charge, and the Fold 3 was 9 minutes. So some charging efficiencies seem to have been made there. But overall, yes, this should give you a pretty decent idea of what these batteries are like on a daily basis. Now, the Z Fold 4 comes with Android 12L. The Z Fold 3 is still on Android 12. What I'm going to do right now is just talk about a few of the things here you'll find on Android 12L, because you're pretty much going to get them here anyway. So there's no reason or no point to go ahead and talk about the software differences here. So the biggest thing here with Android 12L that most people will talk about is the taskbar that you get down here now. Now, the big thing about this taskbar is it's supposed to give you a desktop-like experience taskbar, something like what you would find in Windows or something along those lines. What I find that it's really good for is for easily switching between applications. You know, normally we do that by holding up and then basically going into sort of the multitasking mode, whereas with the taskbar, you can just literally go ahead and press a button, switches right to the app, and it goes very, very smoothly. The other thing about this too that I found out just a few minutes ago is that if you press and hold the app, you can actually make it so it just goes into multi-window with the app you had currently running before. So that's a nice touch there. You can go ahead and hide the taskbar if you'd like by pressing and holding on it, and then just to bring it up again, you would press and hold, and this is going to take some getting used to because I still can't get it down packed. But if you press and hold, yeah, see? You gotta like press and hold near the bottom here, and then it comes back up. But if you move your finger slightly, it registers it as sort of a swipe of sorts. But yeah, the taskbar here is pretty cool. The next thing up is that there is a new gesture for multi-window. So if you go ahead and take 2 fingers and then swipe in from the edges of the device, it makes it so that you can go into multi-window with another app. Now, one of the things I found out is that if you actually just do the same sort of gesture with your fingers from the bottom, same thing happens. So let me go ahead and hide this taskbar. And if I go in, see, it enables multi-window the same way. So the key to doing this is that if you want to enable 2 apps side by side, you would definitely go from here in, and that would bring you into the multi-window. I don't think it's going to do it now because that's up. But if you wanted to enable them top to bottom, then 2 fingers up, and that will do the same thing. You'll just have to sort of rearrange the windows into the way you want them to. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that Samsung, or maybe even Google, now includes a picture of your device in the About Phone section, and they've even went as far as to make it the same exact color as your phone. I'm not sure if this is a Android feature or if it's just a Samsung feature. I would imagine it's most likely a Samsung feature, but I thought it was pretty cool, especially when you need to sort of identify your device. All right, so there you have it. These are what I find to be the most important facts you should probably know when going from the Z Fold 3 to the Z Fold 4. And hopefully this comparison was helpful. I always hope to be helpful. There's probably stuff I could add or go over, but yeah, there's a lot of information to cover. And yes, the Z Fold 4 looks like it's going to be more of an incremental upgrade. Again, sort of a quality of life upgrade. That seems to be the theme here. Not bad at all. Samsung has made a lot of improvements, but ultimately we'll have to see how this kind of fares in the long run. So I will definitely be doing a long-term review on it. Now, with that being said, of course, wherever you are in the world, have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, or a great night, and I will see you in the next video. And thank you for watching, as always.